Welcome to our webinar entitled The Learning Environment Based on the High Scope Curriculum. No matter your experience, this session will refresh you on the basics. During our session, we will provide you with best practices aligned with the high scope curriculum when setting up your learning environment. Thank you for joining us.
In programs where children made choices and worked at their own pace in a variety of well-defined activity settings, children exhibited high levels of social interaction, child-initiated behavior, and child involvement in activities.
We will begin by discussing the guidelines for the preschool learning environment that promote high-quality teaching and learning experiences.
Arranging the play space. Divide the space into well-defined interest areas for distinctive types of play. Label areas using the high scope area signs. Establish visual boundaries between the interest areas. In developing a floor plan, consider the fixed elements of the physical setting and the traffic flow within and between the interest areas. Plan the interest areas to accommodate many types of play, and modify the interest areas throughout the year. The physical features of preschool classrooms using the high scope approach may vary in some respects depending on the classroom's size, outlets, permanent fixtures, and general makeup. However, all classrooms are divided into well-defined interest areas from the beginning of the school year. Interest areas have names children can understand and are logically located. For example, the art area makes more sense near a sink or bathroom, and the block area and house areas are adjacent as children's play may often cross over into these two areas. Clear visible boundaries such as shelves, tables, signs, carpeting, and even lines on the floor are used to divide one area from another. It is essential to keep in mind the flow of the classroom. Plan for the interest areas to accommodate many types of play. Think about the type of play you create as you create the interest area. Think about group play, solitary play, and parallel play.
Start the year off with the required areas, which include block, house, toy, art, writing, book, and sand and water area. Add, change, and modify the areas after you have observed the children and their interest. The interest areas listed here are required to be open and available to all children daily. Remember that there is no requirement to have a specific science area according to the high scope curriculum. Science materials can be stored and used throughout several parts of the classroom. Science learning occurs in natural ways when children explore water, experiment in the block area, and when mixing paints, for example. Consider the areas that encourage the most active play, typically block and house. They are the largest areas in the classroom to accommodate active play. This is not optional. Areas in the classroom should never be limited. Conflict and mess are a part of how children learn and vital to their social and emotional development. These challenges are learning opportunities for children.
The layout on the screen displays best practices and is an ideal floor plan for a high scope classroom. Notice how the classroom is divided into 3 zones. The areas that encourage active play, such as the block, house, and the music area, are grouped together. Quiet areas, such as book, writing, and the computer area, are separated by transitional spaces that are neither quiet nor active. These areas include art, toy, and sand and water.
In this second example, notice how we still have all of the required interest areas in this classroom. However, this is a different design. You have the more noisy part of the classroom still clustered together with the house and block separated by the toy area, which serves as a transitional space between your more quiet activities, such as book and writing.
Choosing materials. Think about this. Knowledge arises neither from objects nor the child, but from interactions between the child and those objects. Choose materials that reflect the children's interests. Choose materials that are appropriate for the child's developmental levels. Provide items that can be used in a variety of ways. Choose materials that support the different types of play that are typical of young children. Choose materials that reflect the experiences and cultures of the children in the program and reflect human diversity in unbiased ways. And make sure materials are safe, clean, and well maintained. When we talk about choosing materials that are appropriate for children's developmental levels, we also want to ensure that materials are plentiful so that multiple children can play simultaneously. Again, materials should promote one or more types of play and be interesting to the children and, of course, be safe. When we think about choosing materials that reflect children's interests, this is where observation is key. What materials are the most popular? What do children talk about? When you have this figured out, think about how to add to it to extend and scaffold their play. Remember, a good place to introduce new materials is through message board and small group time. Lastly, when considering what materials to add to your classroom, add more open-ended materials such as boxes and string, wood scraps, and other found materials, rather than the closed-ended matching games, coloring books, and lotto games. We want our materials to offer a variety of uses to help facilitate many experiences.
Storing materials. Store materials so that children can reach them. Use see-through containers to store materials in plain view. Make sure materials are consistently stored in the same place. Label shelves and containers so children can find and put away materials independently. When storing your materials, ensure that the furniture and materials are safe, clean, and in good repair. In a sense, the interest areas are a group of attractive open storage units, each stocked with materials supporting a different kind of play. Be sure that the items are not stacked on top of each other and that the units for children's materials do not become storage for teachers' materials. When deciding where to store materials in the room, focus on storing similar items together. For example, materials to draw could be grouped together, such as crayons, markers, and chalk, all go together on the art shelf. You might have materials to fasten things together on another shelf. Items such as tape, glue, stapler, and paper clips, and rubber bands would be included. Label shelves and containers so children can find and put away materials. Label the storage container and the shelf it belongs on so that children will know where to return those materials. That's essential. Use labels children can read. For example, the material itself, tracings, drawings, word labels, and catalog pictures. The most important thing is that children can understand the label, which is concrete for them.
Notice in the images on your screen that the instructional materials are open-ended, neatly organized, accessible, and labeled. Look at your physical space and design labels to encourage independence. In a high-scope classroom, labels include tracings, photographs, hand-drawn, written words, and actual items.
Now that we covered the topic of room arrangement, interest areas, and materials, let's talk about classroom displays.
Let's talk first about the required displays in a classroom. That includes small group lists, daily routine, class rules, letter links, area signs, labels for materials, photos of children and their families, a documentation panel, bathroom routines, and authentic displays of diversity and non-stereotypical roles. Some additional displays might include birthday boards, emotion charts, job charts, number and letter charts, shape charts, replications of art, and photos of structures. It is also important to note that a teacher information board for adults must be present. That might include the high scope conflict resolution steps, your small group lists again, any allergies, bus lists or Casper lists, a written daily routine for adults to read, and a clear evacuation plan. Displays are considered an instructional tool that supports teaching, learning, and reflection. Take a moment to examine the lists on your screen that we just talked about and identifying the displays that, again, are required and optional. No matter the display in a high-scope classroom, all displays created by adults must be functional and related to the day-to-day events, not a showcase of dittos and teacher-directed projects. Number and alphabet charts are functional and interactive when displayed at a child's eye level and in the interest area that correlates. For example, an alphabet chart could be displayed in the writing area as a reference for various writing experiences. Lastly, mindful of streamlining displays to avoid visual clutter. Visual clutter can be overstimulating for children and can minimize the teacher's intentionality in using displays as a teaching resource.
Here you will find examples of how our Jersey City pre-K teachers use their classroom displays to promote positive behaviors and independence. The displays include text with visuals to help children interpret the text. The high scope area signs include a large and easily understood symbol, letting children know what play materials and experiences they can expect to engage in.
The examples here help to teach children about data analysis by organizing their birthdays in a chart, geometry through block building, artistic expressions by showcasing historical masterpieces, diversity through the family tree, health practices through music, and labeling emotions as a morning check-in.
When creating displays that reflect specific content areas such as math, language arts, or science, be sure to label using the New Jersey Preschool Standards, originating idea, and the synopsis of the activity, and, when applicable, core items. This shows intentional planning and assessment. This enables supervisors and visitors who come into the classroom to see the extent of learning that is taking place. Remember, the displays on the screen are appropriate examples of streamlining children's authentic work, including pictures, letter links, anecdotes, information on the originating idea, and learning standards. Please take a moment to consider the spaces in your classroom where you can display children's work at their eye level. How do you intend to organize it? What purpose will it serve? When could you refer to it?
To recap, when displaying children's work, consider how children can access the displays at their level to reflect on their work. Here are some fun examples. Maybe use a masterpiece wall, a great way to showcase students' authentic work throughout the school year. Or the colorful corner, where you have a vibrant corner to display children's artwork and any other work that they are doing throughout the day. A Bravo board might be fun. Use clips to make it easy to swap out students' work throughout the year. Try some personalized, repurposed clipboards. If you have some old clipboards lying around, or you know someone who might get them for you, you can repurpose these so that you have an organized way to display children's work.
Another important display we must include in our conversation is the daily routine. The posted daily routine is a teaching and learning tool that is used for scaffolding children's learning, as well as helping to support their social emotional needs. Children learn about the concept of time, sequencing, before and after, and what comes next. They are also starting to read the names of each part of the day because visual representation accompanies the text. They learn to anticipate the parts of the day and, for some, feel secure knowing that there is an end to the day when they get to go home. However, there are times when special events or activities may disrupt the flow of their routine. When the posted daily routine is easy to move around and manipulate, it can visually support the change. For example, you might say, "Today, I have moved large group time after nap time because we have a special visitor joining us." The discussion might also be reflected in the message board at greeting time.
Here are some examples of the high-scope posted daily routine. Notice how each schedule is at children's eye level, interactive, and easily manipulated. There is a symbol that children can move as the daily routine progresses. Displaying the high-scope daily routine gives children a visual of what to expect throughout the school day and teaches them outcomes for learning and behaviors. Overall, it gives children a sense of predictability, control, and comfort.
Congratulations, you've reached the final component of designing a high school classroom, letter links. A letter link is the name tag that children will refer to and utilize throughout the school year. As a reminder, a child's letter link includes the child's name and a picture of an object whose name begins with the same letter and letter sound as the child's name. For example, Cindy might have a letter link with a cinnamon picture. Matthew might have a picture of a map.
Letter links are used when displaying small groups and labeling items such as cubbies or cots. Teachers often use the letter links for labeling children's work and for displays such as birthday boards, job charts, or even charts that support collecting data such as a question of the day. Letter links are also commonly used on the sign-in sheet that children utilize daily.
Good classroom arrangement and organized materials inspires and encourages children to interact easily, which helps develop various skills, including language and social behavior. It is also essential so children can find what they need when they need it. This helps children know I can do things on my own. Organized materials in clean classrooms empower children to try out ideas and use new materials. In a high-scope classroom, children are guided to explore, interact, and exercise their creative imagination through purposeful play. Setting this foundation from the beginning promotes independence, creativity, and problem solving. This allows adults to support and scaffold children's learning as they make decisions, build academic skills, develop socially, and become a part of the classroom community. To create a classroom that ignites active learning, we should arrange and equip the classroom with diverse, open-ended materials that reflect children's home, culture, and language. The room should be organized and labeled to promote independence and for them to carry out their intentions. All the time spent organizing your classroom in this way results in better classroom management and shared control, which is essential to a productive learning environment.
How does the learning environment support the 5 ingredients of active learning? Let's take a look at materials. We provide a variety of open-ended materials that are available and accessible to all children. For manipulation, children can manipulate materials in a way that makes sense to them and their developmental levels. For choice, children choose materials and playmates as they explore the materials. For child language and thought, children use materials and have the space and time to talk with peers and adults and think about how they use their materials. For adult scaffolding, adults are scaffolding children's learning by modifying the learning environment along the way to meet the changing developmental needs of their students. Adults remove and add materials as the year progresses. Scaffolding also includes the labeling and organization of materials. Labels vary to include real objects, photos of objects, catalog pictures, and the traced outlines of objects. Again, the variety of how materials are labeled is how teachers scaffold children's learning. During play, adults scaffold by playing alongside and with children, contributing to the play, acknowledging ideas, and asking questions sparingly.
It is important to note that creating a developmentally appropriate learning environment is supported by the high school curriculum and also supported by the New Jersey preschool teaching and learning standards. Take a moment to pause the video, observe the standards, and think about how you can support the standards in your classroom design. This slide demonstrates some examples of how classroom teachers are supporting a wide variety of skill-building experiences when being thoughtful and intentional about organizing the classroom furniture, making materials accessible, and creating displays that are functional and at the eye level of the young children. Materials that are open-ended and developmentally appropriate also support mathematics, English language arts, science, approaches to learning, social studies, family, and life skills.
The first few days of your school year will have a learning environment that may look somewhat different than it will at the end of the year. Start small. Think about organization, having materials and displays that are functional, being intentional, materials that have a multi-purpose, that are interesting, and that are most of all, child-centered. Children need time to adjust to their new classroom environment and for their new materials on those first few days of school. Small group times and message board conversations are where you would gradually introduce new materials and new classroom displays. They need to learn how to use the materials and where to put them away when they are finished using them. Keep things simple, organized, and functional for your children. Try to avoid overwhelming them with too many materials and busy displays. Also remember that not enough functional displays or materials can also contribute to challenging behaviors. For reference, please use the first 30 days publication from High Scope.
Thank you for your time, and we hope that you have an amazing school year. For follow-up questions, please reach out to your assigned preschool instructional coach. Good luck.